I'll be talking about my project, The Touching Interface, and the subtitle is Publishing with Sentimental Computers. So I developed a printer coming from the very urgent need to decolonize the art and design world, and more specifically, the publishing world. And this is an excerpt from Paul Soelis's Urgent Craft syllabus on publishing, where he describes everything publishing. It goes really into detail. And the main takeaway is that publishing is more than just the publishing house and the publishing industry, but it's also making public, creating a public, and being conscious of your audience. And therefore, publishing is a very political thing. So this text inspired me so much that I spent the last 2 years of my studies going into publishing. I have different projects around publishing, especially physical printmaking, analog printmaking, as well as in more digital spaces. So in the right bottom corner is first time me coding with HTML and making a website on the pattern and decoration movement, and experimenting with text and how it can be seen as a pattern. And so I'm also moving into this decorative sphere. And I also did a lot of research on what publishing is. And so I was interested in like the stack, the kind of infinite meaning production on the internet, meme making, posting, people taking posts, memes, and adjusting them and republishing them. So FYI, I also think posting something on Instagram is publishing. And all of these ideas I wanted to bring together and then think about in a decolonial context for my graduation project. So I found that what I really was doing as I went deeper and deeper into this imagery that I'm interested in is that I somehow want to subvert modernity. I think especially studying graphic design in this Western context, we are forced to use these sans serif lifeless fonts. And we are moving away from ornament and decoration and the body, and kind of have to rationalize everything. So I also saw this in technology, where everything is so sleek and impenetrable, and things are in the cloud and ethereal, and we don't have a grasp on it. So my kind of research, what I'm arguing is that by bringing ornaments back, the emotional body, I can fight the kind of disembodiment we've experienced to capitalism, modernity, which I think is a synonym of colonization, which is also something to argue. We can fight about it later if you want to know more. So yeah, I started experimenting with embroidery, taking apart printers. My first prototype or like iteration was with a Tamagotchi that I tried to sew into fabric and still keep functional to a certain extent. As I mentioned, I come from an art background, so yeah, like computer science and such is not really my expertise. I'm slowly learning more. So yeah, I'm trying to bring these worlds together that are seemingly opposites, as in the natural, emotional, and the technological world. So also taking inspiration from the motherboard and putting that into embroidery. Yeah, trying to approach this in different ways. So this is the end product. It's close to the entrance on the ground floor. It's an embroidery work which has a thermal printer in the center. It's powered with a Raspberry Pi, and there's a capacitive touch sensor which is connected to the embroidery, which is made with conductive thread. So if you touch the thread, it'll start the printer and print a poem. So I chose poetry as it's historically been used as a tool for those marginalized to still have their experiences told. Audre Lorde's Poetry is Not a Luxury is kind of my, how would you say that? I live by it. And the poetry itself is a collection of about 30,000 words, different poetry from queer poets, poets of color, women who write. And it's a very personal curation. as that's also allowed, not very scientific, and that's kind of the point. And it uses a code that I did with Python, and it uses a Markov chain to kind of predict the words as they come. So it's almost completely random, but there's still some kind of sentence structure in it. Which is regenerated anytime you touch it. So for me, it's one thing that there's touch, and then it's this fluid and ornamental thing. But, coming from this like a white box art context, I thought it would be quite subversive to have a project that you need to touch, you need to come close to and interact with, which is quite scary. And so, in order to get such a vulnerable thing that is a poem, you have to also be vulnerable yourself. And I'm really interested in this exchange in like a publishing context. So more close up. Everything's embroidered by hand. Took a lot of time. Also a subversive gesture, I suppose. Something very time consuming, strenuous for the body. And it's one of a kind in a way. So it also breaks all the time. It probably doesn't work right now, and I try to kind of feed this into the story, as in it's temperamental, it has a mind of its own, and it's anything that you don't want your technology to be. But that's kind of, again, my point. So that's my project. Thank you.
Thank you.